So this meeting will be recorded and posted online as well on our project website. So if you ever want to review the things talked about tonight, except for the open house portion of the meeting, feel free to just go on our project website and you can look at our Zoom recording. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Sang. I work for the City of San Mateo's Public Works Department. I'm here to present to you our project, the Delaware Safe Routes Corridor Bike Lane Improvements Project. I'm also joined here by other city staff from the Traffic Engineering Division, as well as our management staff. I'm also joined here by our design consultant to help answer any questions that might come up later tonight, as well as for the open house session for tonight's meeting. I also wanted to acknowledge Mayor Newsom, as well as Deputy Mayor Adam Lorraine. Just thank you for showing up and just representing City of San Mateo, and also for conversing on the project as we did earlier. So without further ado, we can kind of move along. We also do have our project website QR code, as well as our link shown here as well. One moment. All right, so this is the presentation agenda for tonight. So we'll be discussing a very brief project overview. Why that is because we essentially did already speak with residents back in April of 2025 extensively regarding the project design features and elements that are already presented on our project website. So if you do need a refresher on those elements, feel free to take a look on our project website. But tonight, the overall focus is really our revised design and being able to really push the project forward leading up to our project council meeting on September 2nd. So hence, we're looking to do a very brief project overview. Next, we'll be going over some of the community feedback from the prior engagement efforts that staff performed since April of 2025, and really since the project beginnings. This covers also our responses to feedback received from residents, as well as additional efforts made by staff to get answers from outside agencies as well as organizations regarding some of these concerns brought forth by not only residents, but also organizations such as the Event Center staff. After that, it's probably the most exciting part of tonight's meeting, the revised design. You might have already kind of seen it in the back of the room, as well as to the side of the room over here. But we'll be basically talking about the project-specific revisions compared to our designs that we presented on in April 2025, as well as a City Council regular meeting held in early May. After that, we'll have time for questions, so we can just have a joint Q&A session, so anyone can kind of raise their hands. So please hold your questions until then. We may also have folks asking questions online as well, so we'll look to field those questions as it comes up. And lastly, we'll have time for open house, so people can kind of mingle around as we were doing earlier. We'll have more than enough staff hopefully to cover your questions. And then over there to my left is also additional exhibits that will be referenced throughout tonight's meeting. Unfortunately, for those attending online, that part of the meeting will be a little hard to participate in. But as always, feel free to reach out. My contact is actually over here, and our project website is to the right of your screen. So the project goals really stay the same from the presentation given to council in May, as well as our presentation that we've been, as well as our outreach efforts given to residents since April of this year. We're looking to improve bicyclists as well as pedestrian safety along the corridor for the 1 mile stretch of the project scope. As Delaware Street is that crucial backbone infrastructure that we're looking to implement, not only per the City Council adopted bike master plan back in 2020, but also per the circulation elements, as well as the actions and policies that are laid out for the City of San Mateo's general plan. The current issues, as you may have seen while commuting or just getting to this meeting, are that there exists that high level traffic stress on the corridor. We have class 2 bike facilities that are directly adjacent to vehicles with no buffer. Honestly, like I've been out there in the field and I've seen a lot of folks just take the sidewalk just because it's way more comfortable to do so. Meaning that these active transportation users oftentimes have to take other routes or opt for using the sidewalk. Parking retention. So both our original design that we presented back to folks in April, as well as the City Council, as well as the revised design that we'll be talking about tonight, was a result of intending to retain as much parking as possible, while also delivering on the project's goal of improving the existing bike lanes on Delaware Street. And lastly, traffic operations. So we're ensuring that we aren't adding substantial congestion to our city streets as well as our intersections, while balancing the safety enhancements that our project seeks to implement. And of note is that a traffic operations analysis was done to support certain design decisions, both for the original design and the revised design. So with that, we can move into the project overview. And here on your screens, we see just a timeline and our project status as of today. So obviously we are in the middle of August 19th, and we see that kind of highlighted in the top right of the image. And of note is also the September 2nd City Council regular meeting that we'll be talking with City Council about mostly to kind of summarize the feedback received tonight, as well as any other follow-up items that we had from our May Council meeting. And I also wanted to note that the stakeholder and community engagement for this project has been very crucial for us. We've basically had a community engagement phase that has stretched well over a year, with phase 1 starting back as the project was just first getting started. And that has informed our initial design concepts. And really, it has just kind of concluded up to tonight, where we've followed up with residents back in April, and we're looking to really just close the loop tonight, close off any loose ends while also presenting on that revised design. So with that, after the September council meeting, we're looking to bid and award the project and hopefully construct the project later this year into 2026. So here we have the bicycle master plan that I was referencing. It's basically the bike master plan network map. And here I have highlighted in yellow our project limits. So in the red dash line, we see the portion of Delaware Street that is intended to take on the separated bike lane improvements, as currently it is a class 2 bike facility, and the bike boulevard treatments from 20th Avenue down to Pacific Boulevard. So essentially, this image also serves to show how Delaware Street is that backbone infrastructure, as I was mentioning. It serves to connect not only users with certain transit destinations, like Elton mentioned, but also future bike lanes, as well as existing bike lanes on Pacific Boulevard and elsewhere. So it really serves to increase accessibility for active transportation users. Zooming out a little bit, this is still the bike master plan network map, but I've chosen to highlight here the Delaware Street, mostly between the city limits. So here on this screen, we can kind of see Delaware Street stretching all the way from Peninsula Avenue up toward the northernmost boundary of the city, and all the way down to where Delaware becomes Pacific Boulevard and practically Old County Road near the, I believe, city of Belmont. So Delaware Street here is truly the only continuous north-south connector for the street, or for the city of San Mateo entirely. So that also serves to show how this project in general just scored so highly as a part of the bike master plan. And it was also part of the bike master plan rapid implementation network. So obviously, we're looking to implement 1 mile of that as a portion of this entire Delaware Street. But it does serve to show how crucial that this project is to ensure the connectivity for our users. Next, we're zooming back into our project limits. So here on your screen, we see just a closer up image of our 1 mile project scope. So from 19th Avenue down to 20th Avenue, as I mentioned before, it is a physically protected bikeway, essentially a bikeway that has a buffer and also is separated by a vertical element such as bollards that you can kind of see on your screen. And that protection can kind of come in many forms, but our project has chosen to use those green bollards as is pretty standard in the state of California. And from 28th Avenue to Pacific Boulevard will be a bike boulevard treatment. And I've also highlighted in those yellow filled circles, just the various land uses. We're obviously here, not in Fiesta Gardens, but College Park Elementary now. And there's definitely a presence of the event center. We have Bay Meadows that is not shown. We have another school, the Nueva School at 20th Avenue. And also how Delaware Street connects to mass transit destinations such as Hillsdale Caltrain Station and Hayward Park Caltrain Station that is not shown here. Yeah, as I mentioned before, the project not only seeks to enhance accessibility for these different land uses and destinations, but also to various bike lane projects that are not quite shown here on this image, but we're looking to implement in the long-term future, as well as some upcoming projects that you may have heard of in the news. So with that, that kind of takes us to our community engagement efforts, and we'll kind of use this next couple slides to talk through some of our engagement efforts that have seek to actually best inform our initial design practices, but also follow-up efforts that were requested of us after the April community engagement efforts leading into our May City Council. So here on this screen, we're seeing basically a laundry list of outreach efforts that were taken as a part of, we'll call it phase 1 outreach back in spring of 2024, as well as phase 2, spring of 2025. For phase 1, we essentially wanted to understand the priorities in the community for this project. We did that through various styles of outreach that we did, including pop-ups that we hope to gather feedback from residents to be able to inform and build out on that preliminary design that we have on our project website. And phase 2 was basically our efforts to follow up with the community with a more completed design while giving updates to the public about the current project status. And for those last 2 bullets down over there, I'll note that we had that May, regular May for City Council, as well as a late May meeting with the County Event Center, just to see if they had any further feedback following the April community meetings. And that takes us to our feedback theme that we received for our phase 2 outreach. So I'll kind of take my time to talk through this slide. So one of the things that were mentioned by folks were definitely that southbound lane reduction between Bermuda Drive and Saratoga Drive. And that was largely because between residents and the event center, they had concerns about access to the event center during larger events, as well as potential access issues during emergencies, as well as buses, trucks, and delivery vehicles blocking a certain travel lane, specifically the outer travel lane between Bermuda and Saratoga, making it an inconvenience for residents typically living on the west side of Delaware, as well as concerns about emergency vehicle access with our original design, as our initial design that we talked to our residents about only had one southbound vehicle. Secondly, we talked through the issues of the centerline striping between Bermuda and Saratoga. Residents were concerned that they would not be able to basically make left turns into and out of their driveways because of the style of centerline striping that we chose to show in the April meetings. And then also vehicles blocking the current bike lane actually north of 20th Avenue. So this was brought up by the bike community. So we sought to rectify that in our project design. And lastly, we're glad to see that students were very excited about this project and excited just about the future for Delaware Street as they definitely saw the project design and the meeting, and we're excited that Delaware Street would one day become more protected and that they would be able to use it to get to and from school. So this slide just kind of talks through some of the efforts that staff, specifically Public Works Department and our team did since the April meeting. So firstly, we held the City Council regular meeting we participated in the regular meeting and we presented on this project to City Council and gathered feedback from them. We worked on resolving a persistent issue with regards to a dumpster staging problem north of 20th Avenue within the bike lanes. And with that, we worked specifically with ecology and operations staff to make sure that there's basically an apartment complex there that is now no longer staging the dumpsters in the bike lanes. And we also, semi-relatedly, revised our design to address parked vehicles within the bike lanes there. So we'll show that later tonight, or later in tonight's presentation. We held meetings with San Mateo County Event Center staff, which includes not only the board of directors meeting that we had late May, but also a successive meeting that we held with Just Dana, or the County Event Center CEO. We had conversations with Consolidated Fire, our police department, and as well as County Office of Emergency Services for conversations with regards to design approval for this project. And basically, they had no specific concerns about the project, specifically with regards to the lane reduction. We went out there and actually made observations between Bermuda to Saratoga, largely to be able to count the bikes and scooter users, not only in the bike lanes, which is what we typically actually gather data on, but also to see just the splits and how many of these active transportation users are using the sidewalk, which was a surprising amount. We observed also the semi-truck movements into the Keller Plumbing Supply Company, which some of the residents have just been persistently voicing their concerns on in the April meetings, and we were able to see that and also verify that in a design program. And we also observed the lane blockages from box trucks and other delivery vehicles, either blocking the existing bike lanes or a travel lane between Bermuda to Saratoga. And obviously that has all kind of led into our revised design for Bermuda to Saratoga. So we have that around this room, so feel free to stick around. And that design actually explores additional parking on Pacific Boulevard because this revised design to keep 4 vehicle travel lanes on Delaware Street does impact parking on the east side of Delaware Street. And we also held and coordination meetings, and that's largely to make sure that we're upholding their design standards, as well as see if they have any comments on our bikeway design. Sorry. All right, with that, we can kind of move into our revised design. So as mentioned before, this is largely to do with the section between Bermuda Drive and Saratoga Drive on Delaware Street. I've kind of boxed that area of interest that we'll be talking largely about tonight. So that's the portion of the project, about a 900-foot segment over the course of our 1 mile long project segment. So I know that I would talk about the revised design, but just to refresh everyone's mind, and if it's your first time seeing the project design, this on your screen is actually the original design. So from Bermuda Drive, headed south on Delaware Street, we have that travel lane reduction. So we have a left turn pocket making southbound left turn at the Bermuda Drive and South Delaware Street intersection, and vehicles proceeding straight south will only have that 1 lane in our original design. So we're looking to reduce the lanes here, and that's largely because we're redistributing the width of that vehicle lane to actually accommodate our bike facilities while retaining parking on the east side of Delaware Street. And the specific numbers for that is we're actually retaining in our original design 14 of the existing parking spaces, which results in an overall reduction of 4 parking spaces within this segment from Bermuda to Saratoga. And you'll see here headed north or up the screen that the northbound travel lanes must be retained or remain to serve the heavy traffic flow headed to State Route 92, as well as the more northern part of San Mateo. So kind of flipping it a little bit, north is now looking left and south is to the right of your screen. We definitely realized that these localized changes presented to the public back in April were quite contentious as residents were kind of voicing their concerns as well as persistent issues that they've been experiencing for many years, even prior to this project. So as mentioned before, we have the lane reduction between the segment all the way through to Saratoga Drive from Urbana. We are looking to retain as much parking as possible in this original design. There is some slight modifications for residents on the east side of Delaware Street or up this image, or up on this image, as they'll have to do some slight maneuvering with their trash handling as we now have our bike lanes that are by the curbside. And that will not change in the revised design. So here, just to just zoom in a little bit for easier viewing purposes, we have a single southbound through lane in the original design, and we're showing Saratoga Drive and Pacific Boulevard. Here's the revised design. So this is approximately the same limit as shown in the prior slide. And here we see that I noted in the red arrows that we're retaining the 2 southbound travel lanes as in the 2 red arrows shown on the screen. So we're still actually choosing to keep the dual southbound left turn pockets onto Saratoga Drive as the traffic operation supports that the traffic actually traveling south in both the morning and afternoon peaks can be accommodated by the through vehicle lane, by the single through vehicle lane from Pacific to Saratoga. And also the dual left turn pockets will help us best manage the traffic demands that for the county event centers largest or biggest events, which typically occur around 5 to 7 times a year. So I kind of flipped it back. So north is now up on this image and south is down. So here in this option in our revised design, we're retaining 2 southbound through lanes from Bermuda Drive to Saratoga Drive or about Pacific Boulevard. I mentioned the parking impacts earlier. We're impacting 12 parking spaces on the east side of Delaware in favor of keeping that vehicle lane. And staff is currently reviewing options for additional parking on Pacific Boulevard to partially offset parking losses on Delaware. So here's a fairly recent aerial on Pacific Boulevard. If you don't know what that street looks like, this roadway actually leads to our corporation yard where our operations and maintenance staff work. And this would be the section where we would explore additional parking options, such as angled parking, to offset some of those parking impacts due to our revised design. So yeah, we're looking to retain 6 of the existing 18 spaces. Moving further north, we see 4 vehicle lanes as mentioned prior. And we actually see the beginnings of the parking impacts as noted in that red rectangle on your upper right of your screen. And the continuation of the 4 vehicle lanes as well as the impacts the parking here, which is about 12 spaces. But obviously we're choosing to prioritize the bikes in this scenario and make sure that they're protected with a class 4 facility from Saratoga all the way to Bermuda. And here's a table of the, basically a table showing the parking counts in the revised design as well as the parking lots. So really the most important column is the parking lots. So originally, in the original design, we were losing about 4 spaces. In the revised design, we're looking at losing up to 12 spaces on Delaware Street, meaning that we have a difference of 8 parking space slots between the original and revised design. This is not accounting for the potential gain of parking that we would have on Pacific Boulevard, but we just wanted to make sure we're being fully transparent with the community with this change. Lastly, we have some additional design changes as a part of the revised design. I wanted to make sure that we're separating the succeeding slides from the discussion about the choosing to keep the lane reduction, just so we're not competing both. So originally I mentioned that residents were concerned about the inability to be able to make a northbound left. Sorry, I keep saying that. The inability to make a northbound or southbound left on Delaware Street. So in the revised design, yeah, we're just summing it up. Yeah. Very patient. So in the revised design, we're actually looking to change up the center line striping to make that movement basically a legal movement. So in the original design, we actually had it so that we have a double set of yellow line or yellow center line striping down the middle of Delaware Street, basically making it so that cars cannot even make a left turn into their driveways. In the new design, we're opting to open up the center line where possible, and the left box actually notes a single set of double yellow center line striping, which a driver can legally cross over to make a left turn if they wish to access the driveway. So basically, left turns are now permitted in the revised design. Original design, we have the bike community express their concerns about vehicles parking in the bike lane in the post-project conditions near East 28th Avenue and South Delaware Street, or immediately north of it, actually. And that's actually a persistent issue right now. And in the new design, we'll be actually adding additional protection for our bikes and formally striping short-term parking spaces for folks looking to access Montero Apartments, which is Montero Apartments front entrance, which is approximately right here. So we're opting to add additional bollards, protect our bikes, and give drivers a chance to be able to park here short-term as needed. And a little bit of a close-up here, so we can kind of see that as well as mentioned, and we have that exhibit printed out if you so to look at it. Thank you. That's all I had. If anyone has any questions, feel free. Now is the time for it. And we also do have the open house where we can kind of know about. We probably want to turn on the lights, but yeah, thank you all for coming here tonight. Mike.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. This is a great project, and thanks for all the round. So I thought one of the original goals of the project was to also reduce the amount of cut-through traffic that currently happens in this area between 92 and 101. If there's any type of crash at the junction of those, you've got a lot of people that exit, let's say they're coming 92 east, they would exit at Delaware, cut through either Delaware and or Saratoga to get to the Hillsdale exit and 101 south, as well as vice versa. And by adding a lane to the original design, you're simply going to encourage more and more people to do that. So what is going to be the impact on cut-through traffic, and how is that going to impact congestion and safety?
Thanks, Mike. To answer that question, I think I can start off with that really Delaware Street is a major arterial within the city. So for folks to get onto Delaware Street and get to eventually where they need to go, I personally don't see an issue with that, as we want to get folks onto Delaware to eventually get to where they need to go. But go ahead if you wanted to add to that.
Hi, I'm Bethany Lopez. I'm senior engineering overseas with engineering division for the city. Just to answer that, generally this is an effective traffic mitigation project. Because the big option fuel project, we're largely providing improve bike facilities across and through the corridor and trying to facilitate connections to the schools and other destinations along the corridor. Certainly, there are challenges with where the city lies in respect to the freeway that are sort of running right through the middle of it. Unfortunately, this is not necessarily the project to do that, but we do have other mechanisms to try to address some of those, such as signal timing. But that would have to be part of a separate effort.
I will note that, as mentioned in the April meetings, that Delaware Street not necessarily, well, in the post-project commission, we're looking to slow things down at certain intersections, such as 20th Avenue. So maybe not all drivers might find it the most acceptable way to cut through to get to eventually like a southbound 101 direction. So we're using signal timing both to get the folks through, but also to slow things down given the bike boulevard elements of the project. That answer everything, Mike?
Yeah, the goal of the 2 lanes as opposed to 1 to speed things up. So again, I think to back up, what is the reason that we're going back off the original design, adding that extra lane, increasing traffic and making it less safe? What is the justification for that? What do we get out of that?
I wouldn't say that the revised design is less safe. We're providing the adequate width for the bike and the vehicle to get to and from to access Delaware Street between Bermuda and Saratoga. I think the primary reason why we're looking into this is because we hadn't previously explored the option of adding additional parking on Pacific Boulevard. So because we're seeing things roughly mapped out in terms of parking lots on Delaware, but adding parking on Pacific, and the fact that with that change, we can add in the vehicle lane as in the existing conditions. We're looking to just keep to the existing conditions where possible, while acknowledging that it's not mainly for throughput. Our traffic operation analysis really sees that we really only need 1 lane between Bermuda to Saratoga. But because we would like to put the project through
Sorry, I don't get it. You just said we have enough throughput that we can handle. We could do it with the old design 1 lane, but why are we changing it?
We're largely responding to community comments. So that's why we're here to bring this revision, because we heard a lot of community comments and concerns about the prospect of reducing travel.
And the impact and the result of reducing travel lanes is the concern is over what?
We listed out several of the concerns about potential loading within the travel lane, about access to the event center during events, and along those lines. And so those concerns prompted us to look at how we are looking at the design comprehensively, and that is what led us to the design revisions that we've done. Can you go ahead?
I had a question about the width of the bike lane of the bike design going southbound. Is there, so sometimes there, like where the lane is narrower, we have to like ride on the center seam and then makes it difficult.
Right. So the question is about the bike lane between Bermuda and Saratoga, or really the entire project?
I mean, I think that's the main place where I have a concern, because in the other parts it seems like it's more flat, like it's not like right at the center, it's more toward the middle.
Right.
Yeah, right. That's why we're going to.
Yeah. So generally speaking, yeah, if that's a question, we're adhering to the minimum widths required by Caltrans, and we are including the gutter width as a part of that width. So did you want to add anything?
Sure. So one other thing to consider too is that we do have that buffer space. So what we did look at, especially where the gutter lifts out to accommodate for the inlets, that we're still maintaining an operational space for the bicyclist. So there might be technically a straight there, but it has the operation space from the edge of the bollards to that gutter seam for maintaining at least 4 feet throughout the corridor, in order to make sure that bicyclists don't have to ride on that gutter seam.
Question over there.
This looks so much better. Thank you. Have read the name, but one particularly concerned is about the parking issues in front of the 28th Street. I appreciate it. I need to look at it more closely. I am a little bit critical about the return of the 2 left turn lanes in Saratoga. Remember, the cyclist turn left too, and 2 left turn lanes is problematic. And y'all have seen the videos I sent them during rush hour and during county fair. I'm not sure that the data supports that lane is necessary. Y'all have got the metal loop detectors. You can look back historically. I understand the residents' concern, but y'all know what confirmation bias is, right? Confirmation bias is when we're worried about something, we see 10 days a year when it happens, and we don't see the 350 it doesn't. Resident concerns are legitimate, because that's what they are concerned about, and that's what they're seeing for that period of time. But I wonder if the data supports it. You guys have got the MLB data. If it doesn't support it, I ask you to reconsider that change. The last thing that I'm concerned about is from the very beginning, you ignored 28th to 31st. I understand why. When that was constructed 2 years back, it was a poor decision to have the diagonal on parking. We're kind of stuck with it now. But I ride this thing a lot. I ride it 2 to 3 days a week, sometimes more often than that. Tonight on my way here, I had a belligerent, aggressive driver come about 8 far away from me. Just because he didn't think I should be there and he's pissed off. These folks are fairly rare. Right? Say they're 1 in 1,000. Say they're 1 in 10,000. That means this happens to me once or twice a week. Please. Too late to do it as part of this project, but please. We need it fixed there. We need the extension from Pacific to Old County fixed too.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, we'll take note of those comments and we'll look to respond to you. Thank you. Oh, yeah, we have a second mic, so if you wish to.
Otherwise, I'm afraid I'm not able to hear all the comments that are happening. Sorry to summarize comments like that. So,
Was there a question from Mike?
Can you pull up the first map you had on, prior to that, you had
I think that's it.
sorry, if you go south.
Oh, what? So Saratoga?
I'm sorry, at Bermuda, are there 2 crosswalks going across?
Just the one, and that's on our project design.
I think a slide with that.
Yep, just one. I see it back over there.
Yeah, that doesn't seem optimal, especially because it was one of those 3-way crosswalks on El Camino. It took me 4.5 minutes to get across the street because I had to go 3 ways around. And especially with Bermuda being next to a school, or at least the campus is right down Bermuda. It seems like we would want to make it as easy for people to get across Delaware as possible, instead of having kids who probably aren't going to go 3 ways around if it's not safer. So why is there no crosswalk there?
I believe It's, I believe there's a walk signal for one, so we need to be able to construct that. To be able to, there's no crosswalk on the north leg. I think that's the question. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You started to get that.
This one?
So look to the left, so Bermuda, to the left is north, right? So there's no way to cross Bermuda there, on the left side or north side.
Correct.
Except to cross three ways there. Yeah. Well, let's say you want to go from the bottom to the bottom left to the top left.
But that's a sidewalk.
Oh, is that not a driveway exit?
It is a driveway.
So that's not bad.
Okay. We typically have the walk signals rest as a walk signal. Like green on Delaware Street.
Okay, all right, not as important, but I think I don't should have crosswalk everywhere with people like.
We had that, then the entire street. Everywhere.
My question made me think about one other thing one of the primary things that I want to say. In addition to the list of comments that you presented, at first, there were a sizable number of folks commenting on the fact that there was no safe route school changes being made on Bermuda itself. I would recall at least, I don't know, 6 to 8 folks who expressed this concern. I think it's an important part of what should be part of this project. If not, how soon can that be addressed? Because I'm a cycling teacher. I'm trained by the Native American bicyclists. Talked to a lot of people who are uncomfortable bicycling as they become more comfortable bicycling. Telling them that 1 mile is now safe, but sorry, the last third of a mile is dangerous. It's not very convincing to people. They want to know the whole route is safe. So, can Bermuda be made part of this project? And if not, when can it?
So I would say, yeah, thank you, Leon. So the question was whether Bermuda Drive can be added to the project, to this project scope for the Delaware Safe Routes to School bike lane improvements project. And the answer is, at this point in time, no. It would add complexity to the project scope, and we're currently just looking to actually, get this project moving forward. So it would likely have to, more likely have to go back out to the community to be able to implement the Bermuda Drive bike facilities as per our bike master plan. But since it is noted in our bike master plan, we have every intention to eventually complete it. I mentioned earlier on in tonight's presentation that Delaware Street, we have a high interest in getting done as soon as possible because it is part of that rapid implementation network. So once we get users onto Delaware Street and getting active, getting biking, scootering to where they need to go, I'm sure that the dominoes will continue to fall, and we'll be able to implement places like Bermuda Drive much more easily. So at least that's my hope for Bermuda Drive and eventually connecting it to Delaware Street. But really, we have future projects like 19th Avenue Fashion Island Boulevard project, which is objectively speaking a really complex project, probably more complex than this project. And once that gets going, then really Bermuda Drive will hopefully come soon thereafter as well. But at this point in time, I don't think we have it in the books for even the next 3 years out. So, but obviously, reducing the high level traffic stress on Delaware would help people get used to biking more often and maybe even get more confident in general to be able to bike on roads like Bermuda, even without some of the bike facilities that we will one day implement.
So I'll tell you, like I said, I think I know. So, sure. Categorically, especially parents with kids, 2/3 of the way being safe and 1/3 not. People want safe routes end to end, and if this is a safe route to school, I understand it's too late to change now. I'm learning these things, but please prioritize that. I understand that it's hard for folks to understand the need for cyclists to be safe sometimes. I sure hope even they have an understanding of what kids should be safe, so please prioritize that last part of the project. Kids deserve to get to school safely.
Thanks, Juliano. Yeah, I mean, I think generally as drivers see more cyclists, they'll be more aware that, there are cyclists even on Bermuda drives. I would hope that, at least that helps somewhat. Go with the right side of the room, please.
I'm a resident of Ironwood, and so I appreciate the revised changes. Because when I initially saw the one lane, I was like, we're never going to get out of a complex. So I definitely appreciate the 2 lanes still there, being able to make a left in our complex and off the. Just wanted to point that out. We all have our agendas. Everybody has points of view. I wanted to for Ironwood because we've been there and belong it and kind of for the brunt of apartment complexes being built on the right side of us, on the left side of us, and just sort of kind of in the forgotten original 28 units there. And definitely appreciate that entry and exit. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Also, second, I really appreciate the scene design. I personally saw potentially 2 people fly there because the ambulance is 2 of them. It was a couple days in a row. We're able to get through that extra lane. It is an emergency vehicle thoroughfare on Delaware. It's not capable on El Camino because of the traffic. So, and I just witnessed that myself just recently 2 separate times. There is a simple solution to slowing down the traffic, which is putting those electronic signboards on the side of Delaware saying they're going too fast. I see those everywhere and they really work. So we could even put them out there today if that's a concern for people in terms of the speeding. So I don't see why we can't put those out there.
Hi, I'm Dana. I'm the superintendent staff of the CEO of the and I just want to say I appreciate it. I know that I can imagine city staffs because you have so many different objectives from everybody. But I think that you've done a great job at hearing the additional outreach, particularly from the neighbors, some of our concerns. I think this addresses our concerns, but there's a lot of potential for future development at the event center. It's being talked about now. And of course, it's a balance between visitors who are often more particularly having been they are pedestrian, but still protecting what we can. It's a great first step. I know you can't do it all in one shot, but I really appreciate you really listened to all the perspectives and done the very best you could to try and come up with some great compromise. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Hi, Faith. So I have a couple of comments. One is, I think it would be great if you were making data-driven decisions, and I was curious when you did all the counts of the bicycles and the parked vehicles, if you did counts of the vehicles going through the intersection. I'll second that. Like Giovanna, I went to the county fair. I also went to the Asian Food Festival this past weekend. I always walk or bike to the event center, and during an event day, I took photos and videos. There were key cars waiting at that light to turn left on Saratoga. So my personal experience is that it's not a very traffic heavy thoroughfare. And I was just curious if you guys have that data, if you can share it so people can understand the trade-offs between the street parking and the additional vehicle lane. Because when I walked to the event center this weekend, every single parking space on Delaware was occupied. And so I think I worry about the potential implications of removing that parking and how that might be received by the folks who live in the apartment there. I think the other thing I'll say is I hope that creating more safe bicycle infrastructure will lead people to shift their mode of transit. I live within 2 miles of the event center, which is why I always walk or bike there. But it is not easy to walk or bike there now. I walk with my folks who are seniors, and there are no pedestrian entrances to the event center. We had to walk through a gap in the bushes, and there used to be a bike rack in the event center. My husband met me on the bike with the kids, and there's no longer a bike rack. And so I think if we want to shift those modes of traffic, we need to make the infrastructure safer and more accessible to pedestrians and bicyclists. If we make the infrastructure hostile to those modes of transit, then people are going to choose alternatives. And then the last thing I'll say is, I think we need to be careful how we communicate this, and how we communicate the perceived result and benefit in the months or potentially years after this is rolled out. Because I think I'll echo the comment where 1/3 of the route isn't safe. People aren't going to feel safe to take the whole route. And right now, the access from the north on Delaware does not feel safe. That's the direction I come from. And right when things get the most stressed at the intersection of 92 is when the bicycle lanes disappear. And so I think that this is primarily going to be used for people coming to school from the south. And we should set realistic expectations with the community that they're not going to see the bike traffic increase by 200% overnight until we can finish the network and create an entirely end-to-end safe network. And then I'll echo the last comment, which is I often ride to Bay Meadows along this route from the north. And it gets really stressful at Bay Meadows where the bike lanes disappear because there's a lot of cars headed there. People are backing in and out of those angled parking spots. And it just feels like an accident waiting to happen because there's so much bicycle traffic there right now on the weekends, and the safe infrastructure disappears exactly at that point where it gets the most stress.
Thank you. I think just to reiterate the speaker's questions, firstly, the speaker was asking whether the city had basically data to back up the decision behind the dual left turn lanes headed south on Delaware onto Saratoga. Is that correct? And second, I think there was a question potentially maybe more relevant for the event center. Third, I think the speaker asked a question whether, or pointed out more so that the 19th Avenue and Delaware Street intersection is quite unsafe, which we are looking to resolve with the ongoing efforts of the 19th Avenue Fashion Island Boulevard bike lane improvements project. And the last was more so a comment, but I think to address your first comment or first question about the whether the decision to add the dual left turn lane on to get folks onto Saratoga Drive to eventually access the event center. So we did complete a traffic operations analysis report. So there was data for this intersection as well as the intersection at Bermuda and Delaware Street. So we have available to us vehicle, bike, and pedestrian counts at these two intersections. What we don't have and what the operations memo, operations report did not necessarily account for is increased traffic for certain event center events. So I know you mentioned that the more recent events that where you were at this intersection at Saratoga and Delaware, where there weren't that many cars using the dual left turn lanes. Our approach for this was largely to accommodate those really heavy days where traffic peaks over the course of maybe 1 hour or 2 hours at most onto Saratoga Drive to eventually access the event center. So that's largely our. So we're basically doing a rough estimate in terms of the vehicles that would need to use those left turn pockets that we're looking to implement here. So generally, we do recognize that, generally speaking, during the weekdays, for example, if there's no events, that not many folks will be turning left onto Saratoga Drive, and that the rest of the vehicles headed straight south can be accommodated through the southbound travel lane. And I think thirdly, we do have the active project right now. I think it's currently in outreach community phases for the 19th Avenue Fashion Island Boulevard project. And we can definitely share that link with you. I think you have to, if you signed in to tonight's meeting. So we'll look to update you on that and get any feedback that you may have, as we're looking to really protect that intersection for all modes of travel, including bikes at the 19th Avenue and Fashion Island Boulevard, or the 19th Avenue and Delaware Street intersection. And I believe there were some general comments about event center being hard to access as a bike, as both a bike and a pedestrian. I believe we heard the similar types of comments at prior council meeting, specifically the May 5th council meeting regarding this project. So we have hope that the city and the event center can continue to work together, not only to get vehicles onto Saratoga Drive, but also analyze how best we can get really users of all modes of transport, all modes using like bikes, scooters, or walking or rolling onto the event center without the need to actually use their vehicle. So we have high hopes that with a certain, maybe like a task force team or eventual discussions that will be had with the event center, that we can provide better access, better openings on Delaware Street, on Saratoga Drive to get folks onto the event center. So, Dana, did you have anything you wanted to add to that comment?
Not aware of the
You know, the event center was designed, heavy wall open parking. You're gonna see, a redevelopment of the whole property, moving forward over the next year and a half. Certainly incorporated that as we want to include, bike and bike access through that. It's always been a challenge because you have that narrow pedestrian, very heavy vehicle access at Saratoga. We have some access at 2701. Last weekend event was really small, so you don't see that push. You know, we get a lot of it during volleyball, but that occurs, Ironwood, between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. for 3 straight months during volleyball. If you want to leave your apartment during 7 and 9, you cannot because of all those volleyball parents. But there does need to be looking at better access that we can do, and certainly want to accommodate that. I know one of the things we talked about was also potentially with the city staff was, could we, for those residents displaced on Delaware for parking, could we give like 20 spaces at the event center, give you a clicker, you could park there? That's still an alternative we're talking about, just so that people, you know, we want to be a part of the solution too, and we know we have some big house or big property. We attract a lot of visitors and tourism and all of that, which is not always, you know, in sync with what residents and neighbors need. But I think that, you know, in the best of all worlds, I certainly echo the resident, and being a resident of San Mateo, I'm going to be so excited to see ARCO addressed, which I assume is on the 19th Avenue part of it, because that's just dangerous for everybody. And as well as Delaware, because I live in the village, so I go that route, Delaware south after 28 and that angle parking, that's also dangerous for, it's dangerous for drivers, it's dangerous for pedestrians, it's dangerous for bicyclists. It's just all in all on that. So I look forward to the city addressing that.
I just want to say thank you for all the work that you have done. I mean, like, my freedom, like going to and from school and all that, is kind of tied to how my mom thinks of the bike lanes. So, well, like, all the stuff you're doing, no one is perfect. So, no matter how much you're doing, as long as it's going forward and not backwards, just thank you, because that's more freedom. And many of my friends.
Thank you.
I wanted to make a quick comment. So my name is Maggie Chan. I'm actually the school board member for San Mateo School District for this area. School and much of this project also in my district. And this student's point is exactly one of the things that we are prioritizing in our school district, which is supporting safe routes to school, making it easier for kids to get to and from school in any other way other than in a car. One of the things that has happened with the switch between here and Fiesta Gardens School is that we've seen a huge decrease in vehicle traffic in the morning in the North Central location, that North Central campus, and that is due to families being able to walk or scooter or bike to school rather than driving. And I've actually spoken with a neighbor who does drive to school, and he said it's actually much easier to park there than it ever was at this campus. So I think that just goes to show that there are ways to prioritize active transportation that make it easier for everyone. And to the student's point, we cannot expect our kids to ride to school when it's not safe, when the parents don't feel that it's going to be safe. And I personally use these roads all the time. I'm a confident bicyclist, but a lot of kids starting out and a lot of people who are not confident are not going to feel comfortable in going on a route that doesn't feel safe to them. So we need to be able to provide the infrastructure, and I really appreciate that this project is going forward as well as the other projects. And I just want to say, like, this is all part of the system, and we need to make it safe so that kids who are young will grow into kids who are a little bit older and feel more confident and have the freedom to develop into confident, to be able to exercise agency in their lives. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there for anyone who's not necessarily thinking about that piece, as well as that we're also talking about developing and growing confident and competent adults.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment.
I wanted to note quickly that we don't have any online comments. Yeah. We have an online audience as well. We had a Zoom link and we don't have any comments online.
I just wanted to echo some gratitude to all the work that's been put into this project, and as somebody who bikes all around with my kids and who now are biking on their own, it just brings me joy to see additional in the bike. I would also second request to prioritize. I love these site segments that are going in, but to prioritize the connections between the segments. It's really difficult when you're cruising along on these beautiful bike lanes and then they stop for one block to get over to the next one. So if there's maybe a way that I can prioritize just connecting some of them, that would be amazing. But thank you all for all your work.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment. We'll take this last comment or question as a last feedback for the segment.
Hey everyone, I bike to work on this street, on Delaware Street, 5 days a week. Take it to work from Hillsdale Caltrain to work at Point Center. So it's like it is one of the more stressful parts of my commute. And we have a couple of 8 other people at the office biking to the office, and 6 of them actually get as well. One question I had with regards to the change north of 31st Ave, where there's currently a bus stop. Could you talk a bit more about that? It seemed like the bus stop is from one of the
Yeah, I think the speaker basically asking about this portion of the design, the new design, right? So the bus stop will be there to remain towards the left-hand side of this image. So if you're speaking, or if you would like me to kind of speak through this, bikes are expected to kind of go from south of 20th Avenue, headed north, enter the bike lane as obviously 20th Avenue down is currently a bike route and eventually a bike boulevard. Enter this bike lane that's protected. We'll have short-term parking for residents here so that they're not encroaching into this space. And then we are having to open it up as we're adhering to Samtrans's bus design guidelines for the bollard production. So really the only user that should be using the space are bikes and buses, as we have the shared use or the share pavement markings over here.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I just want to say all of us speaking on behalf of all, we're very excited for this fund that improve our safety and also our.
Awesome, thank you.
One quick follow-up on this, design. If I remember correctly, the other bus stops along this project are in-lane bus stops. This one is the lone one that is not an in-lane bus stop. Why the special treatment for it? Curiosity.
Okay,
They're not.
No, they're not. They all pull over to the curb.
Apologies, I heard somewhere they were in-lane.
Yeah. No, I apologize. I mean, we can talk through the design, but yeah, they all do pull over to the curb.
Thank you.
We talked to Samtrans about that stop on 28, like right in front of the Caltrain, and I would actually think that's more useful. And you have 2 lanes of parked traffic there, so you'd only be blocking 1 of 2 car lanes as opposed to 1 of 1 bike lane over here.
We've had that conversation with Samtrans, and that's part of the reason why we wanted to propose. I know that there was some conversation and some questions about putting a bus platform at this location, and having the bikes go behind the bus platform. But the primary reason why we wanted to do this as striping is because we're anticipating that we'll move this bus stop to right under the Caltrain station. We've had that conversation with Samtrans to help facilitate a cleaner transition. So this is something that if we remove the bus stop at this location, we can remove the striping for the bus stop here in the future more easily than we'd be able to remove concrete.
all right, thank you all for your questions and comments. With that, we can kind of that really ends tonight's presentation. If you need to get going now, feel free to do so. And we obviously have our design posted up and separate exhibits to your right. But thank you all. Yeah. So excited to move this project along, and we'll be having that September 2nd. Thank you.
Yeah.